And my job as someone who believes deeply in the public sector is to ensure that we're delivering public excellence. And that means every dollar that we raise, I want to be able to prove to you that it's every dollar that's being well spent. That's the relationship there. And I do have to say, even though we have a disagreement on tax policy, every time I get a death threat, I still listen to many.
Republicans actively protect pedophiles.
DL Hughley just went all the way off on 50 Cent. And honestly, he didn't lie one bit. The internet is absolutely losing it. Because DL finally said out loud what a whole lot of people have been quietly thinking for years. He's tired, fed up, with watching wealthy celebrities pretend they're still for the people, acting like they're living the same struggles as regular folk. But the moment someone proposes a policy that could actually help everyday people, those same celebrities suddenly panic, switch sides, and start protecting their money instead of the community they claim to represent. DL called it out plain and simple. The hypocrisy is unreal. And that's exactly why this clip exploded online. So here's what kicked the whole thing off. The moment that pushed DL from irritated to dumb.
The working people of New York have been told by the wealthy and the well-connected that power does not belong in their hands. Tonight, against all odds, we have grasped it. The future is in our hands.
Zohran Mamdani just got elected as the new mayor of New York City, the first Muslim mayor in the city's history, and easily one of the most progressive candidates New York has ever voted into power. It's a massive moment, a real shift in the city's political landscape, and people all over the country are talking about it. But here's the wild part. The man hasn't even had time to move his boxes into City Hall, and 50 Cent is already online acting like New York is officially finished. He's posting, complaining, and stirring up drama before the mayor-elect has even sat down in the chair. According to 50, this election is a sign the city's headed straight downhill, and he's not holding back one bit.
Here's what's interesting to me. So Mamdani is going to be the new mayor of New York, 34-year-old kid. Like I said, I live in New York. I couldn't vote in that election, but if I could, it would have been an easy choice.
Now DL is out here firing warning shots straight at 50 Cent, calling him out and exposing him for the fake he's been pretending not to be. And trust me, this whole situation got messy fast. The drama started bubbling the moment Zohran Mamdani made history. Mamdani's campaign was built on rent freezes, real affordable housing, and free public transit. Policies designed to make life easier for everyday working people instead of protecting the comfort of billionaires and celebrity millionaires. It was a bold, people-first agenda that a lot of New Yorkers connected with immediately. But that's exactly the kind of talk that sends 50 Cent into a complete meltdown. DL is pointing out that the second someone proposes something that doesn't benefit the ultra-rich, 50 acts like the world's ending. And DL isn't sugarcoating a single word.
But here's what I really don't understand. The man who is actively trying to use hunger to get his political way, saying that people won't have food.
The moment Zohran Mamdani won, 50 Cent jumped online in full drama mode like he was auditioning for his own disaster movie. First thing he did was post an image of a tombstone labeled R.I.P. Nick, with 2025 listed as the city's official year of death. That alone had the internet clowning him, but he didn't stop there. Next, he uploaded a dinner photo with his whole crew and captioned it, "Escape from New York, hit the road. All roads lead to Shreveport," and he meant it literally. He's talking about Shreveport, Louisiana, where he's been building a massive film and entertainment hub under G-Unit Film and Television. He's leased studio space, announced a $50 million entertainment district, and is working overtime to brand Shreveport as the new headquarters of his entire business empire. Basically, 50's message was loud and clear. If you want to work with me, pack your bags and head to Louisiana. But DL Hughley, he wasn't impressed, not even a little bit. He saw right through the theatrics and wasn't afraid to call out the nonsense.
Unless they do his political bidding. It's saying that the man who wants to make rent cheaper, public transportation cheaper, and food cheaper is the one who is ruining America. So the man who wants to starve you to get what he wants thinks that the dude who wants to feed you, house you, and get you, make you able to get around cheaper is the horrible one. That tells you everything you need to know about where we are.
He clapped back hard, saying he's sick and tired of people like 50 Cent. People who came from the struggle, built their names on surviving the hood, and now cry about policies that are actually meant to help the same communities they came from. And DL did not ease up after that. He went straight for the hypocrisy, loud, clear, and unfiltered. Here's what DL was pointing out. Zohran Mamdani's tax plan only raises income tax by 2% for people making over $1 million a year, a tiny bump that only affects the super rich. He also wants to raise corporate tax to around 11.5%, which is still lower than in many major cities. On top of that, Mamdani plans to fix New York's completely broken property tax system, the same system that lets luxury penthouses in Manhattan pay less than older homes in the Bronx. He even talked about shifting some of the tax burden away from working-class neighborhoods and onto high-end areas like Central Park South. Basically, his whole plan is built to relieve pressure on regular families and make billionaires finally pay their fair share. But instead of applauding it, instead of saying, yeah, that actually helps the people I claim to support, 50 acted like New York had officially fallen into the ocean, and the internet wasted zero time tearing into him. The comments were straight up savage. People called him a sellout, a hypocrite, someone who completely forgot where he came from the minute he got rich. One person wrote, "Guy who sold crack to his own community suddenly cares about their well-being." Another added, "Your grandma was on food stamps, relax." Someone else even reminded him that when he got shot 9 times, the hospital bills were covered by taxpayer-funded programs. The same type of social support he's now mocking. The shade was relentless. The internet dragged him from one platform to the next without mercy.
I would say to you, 50, if you are indeed watching, or anyone else who's watching this show, is I continue to think that having the top 1% of New York City, who are making more than $1 million a year, having them pay 2% more for an economic agenda that would transform every New Yorker's life, including their own, is something that is worthwhile. I have to say, even though we have a disagreement on tax policy, every time I get a death threat, I still listen to Many Men. It's true.
Well, you take Many Men for motivation. I was going to say your answer sounds a little bit like clickety clank, the money goes into my piggy bank.
Wow.
And if we had more time, we'd do more 50.
And that's when DL Hughley decided to drop his message straight at 50. DL said it's wild seeing someone like 50, a man who came from nothing, suddenly crying about policies designed to help the same people he used to be. And he didn't stop there. He called out the hypocrisy loud and clear. He pointed out how these wealthy celebrities had absolutely nothing to say when Trump was cutting food stamps and using hunger as a political weapon. But now, the moment a mayor tries to lift people up and give the working class some breathing room, suddenly they want to fearmonger and act like the city is collapsing. Then Mayor Mamdani himself stepped in and delivered a clapback of his own. After 50 said he'd pay him $285,750 to leave New York City. Mamdani basically laughed and said 50 clearly didn't understand how taxing the top 1% actually benefits the entire city. That one calm, confident line went instantly viral. People loved how unfazed and steady he was. Meanwhile, 50 kept spiraling, but of course 50 couldn't let it go. He reposted Mamdani's response on Instagram with a dramatic caption. "I think his intentions are good, but his tax plan is going to run the big money out of the city, and if he defund the police, they are going to purge. All roads lead to Shreveport." The moment he hit post, that caption exploded across social media. Here's the thing though, what 50 did there is straight up class fear tactics. Rich people have been using the same exact move forever. Every time someone mentions higher taxes for the wealthy, they start screaming about leaving the city. New York has been hearing that same line since the 1970s, and guess what? They almost never leave, because they know where the real money is. And it's right here in New York. Need proof? Look at billionaire Bill Ammon. He spent months trashing Mamdani during the campaign, posting racist nonsense, calling him a radical, saying he'd move to Florida if Mamdani won. But the second Mamdani actually won, Ammon suddenly tweeted, "Zohran Mamdani, congrats on the win. Now you have a big responsibility. If I can help Nick, let me know what I can do." Wild, right? So what happened to packing his bags for Florida? Exactly, the man wasn't going anywhere. And now he's offering to help the same guy he dragged for months. That right there shows how fake all this "we're leaving" talk really is. These billionaires never leave because their companies, connections, investments, and power are rooted in New York. They need the city way more than the city needs them. They bluff to scare people before elections or pressure politicians into backing down. And when the bluff fails, they flip the script and pretend they were supportive all along. And that exact pattern is what DL Hughley was exposing. Because every time you threaten even a slice of a rich person's wealth, they pretend to care about the working class just to mask their own fear. It's the same playbook every time. Now let's talk about the defund the police point 50 kept pushing, because it wasn't even true. Mamdani never said he'd defund law enforcement. He said he'd rebalance the budget, putting more money into housing, mental health, youth programs, and community services, the things that actually prevent crime before it happens. That's not a purge. That's called common sense. Cities that invest in people end up with less crime. It's proven. Meanwhile, while regular New Yorkers are worried about rent, groceries, and catching the train on time, 50 is worried about a tiny tax increase he can easily afford from his house in Houston. And that's the exact disconnect DL was talking about. He was calling out that moment when someone who built their whole story on get rich or die trying suddenly starts acting like the real threat is poor people trying to live. It's a sad reversal, and DL is making sure nobody misses it. Now here's where things get even deeper, because this whole situation between DL Hughley, 50 Cent, and Zohran Mamdani isn't just about one celebrity throwing shade. It's about an entire system being exposed. Every time progress threatens the comfort of the wealthy, they panic. They start spreading fear, acting like the city is seconds away from destruction, when really, they're just scared of giving back even a tiny piece of what they've been hoarding. And that's what DL Hughley was calling out loud and clear. He wasn't just coming for 50. He was calling out all the millionaires and billionaires who cried doom the second fairness enters the conversation. He reminded everyone that New York has survived far worse than a fair tax plan. This city lived through blackouts, recessions, pandemics, near bankruptcies, and it's still the heart of hustle. So why is it that every time a mayor tries to help working people, the rich start acting like the apocalypse is coming? DL put it perfectly. It's wild to see people who came from the bottom forget what it felt like to struggle. And that line hit the internet like thunder. Because let's be real, 50's story has always been about survival, about grinding his way out of the struggle. But the moment he hit ultra-rich status, that for the people energy disappeared. He's out here stressed about millionaire taxes while families in Queens are stressed about rent. The double standard is everywhere. When billionaires get massive tax breaks, nobody blinks. But when a mayor wants to raise the rate on millionaires by 2%, suddenly it's RIP New York? Come on, it's ridiculous. New York isn't dying. It's just shifting the balance a little, and the people who've enjoyed being on top for decades don't like that. Let's circle back to Bill Amann again, because his flip tells you everything. One week he's swearing he'll flee the city. The next week he's congratulating the mayor and offering to help. That's what happens when the bluff gets called, because deep down they all know they're not going anywhere. Their money is here, their influence is here, their deals are here. They can talk about leaving all they want, but when it's time to cash checks, they're still right on Wall Street. And DL Hughley didn't stop hammering that point. He said all this rich people will flee. Talk is just another lie used to scare regular folks into protecting the wealthy. He called it trickle-down fear. And that phrase took off. People were reposting it everywhere saying DL just named the game that billionaires have been playing for decades. Because he's right. The only thing that's ever trickled down from the top is fear and excuses, not opportunity. Meanwhile, Zohran Mamdani stayed calm. He didn't take the bait. He didn't rant online. He kept repeating the core message. Fairness isn't a punishment, it's a correction. This is about making sure the city works for everyone, not just the top 1%. That's real leadership. Staying composed while everyone else spirals. But 50 wasn't done. He doubled down again on Instagram saying, his intentions are good, but his tax plan will run the big money out of the city. If he defund the police, they are going to purge. Classic fear posting, but people didn't buy it. Comments flooded in calling him out. Bro, you're rich. Why are you scared of paying your fair share? You made millions off this city and now you're dragging it? And the funniest part? People noticed how 50's Escape from New York campaign lined up perfectly with his new Shreveport business project. Fans called him out, saying this wasn't activism, it was straight-up advertising. DL caught that too. He said celebrities will turn real public fear into free publicity in a heartbeat. He called it capitalism dressed as concern. Another line that instantly went viral, and honestly, he's right. The rich have been running this play forever. Every time someone suggests taxing the wealthy or funding public programs, they scream economic collapse. But the truth is, nothing collapses. The working people are the ones holding the city together, not the billion. DL even brought up history. New York has always had people crying about change. Landlords complaining about rent control, bankers claiming Wall Street would die after every regulation. Guess what? They all stayed. They all got richer. So when 50 says RIP New York, he's not predicting doom. He's exposing how out of touch he's become. The city that made him rich is still alive, still hustling, still grinding the way he used to rap about. And that's what makes DL call out so powerful. He's reminding people, you can't forget the struggle that made you. You can't build your empire on the backs of the poor, then mock them when they finally get a leader fighting for them. And underneath all this, it's not even about money. It's about loyalty. Loyalty to where you came from, to the people who supported you long before the fame. That's what people mean when they say 50 forgot where he came from. Meanwhile, DL comments turned into a movement. People were posting, DL is speaking for the people. Finally, someone said it, we need more truth like this. It stopped being celebrity drama and started becoming a conversation about how the rich treat the poor in America. And the wild part? 50 could have easily stayed quiet and still looked like a boss. But instead, he made himself the poster child for everything people are sick of. Rich folks crying victim while sitting in mansions across multiple states. Public opinion flipped fast. In the end, this entire thing isn't just about 50, DL, or Mamdani. It's about a pattern, one that's repeated for decades. The moment someone tries to level the playing field, the wealthy panic. They fearmonger. They act like fairness equals chaos. But real chaos is when people work 60 hours a week and still can't afford rent while billionaires cry about a 2% tax increase. And as for 50's police argument, pure misinformation. Mamdani's plan is about balance, funding what actually prevents crime. Housing, education, mental health, community care. That's not anti-police, it's pro-safety. But people like 50 twist it into something scary because fear gets clicks. DL exposed that, and that's why people respected him. Someone had to say it. These rich folks don't fear losing the city, they fear losing control. So while 50 is busy posting memes about New York being dead, the city is still pulsing. The trains are running, the music is blasting, people are grinding, hustling, surviving, just like always. Because no matter how much money leaves, the soul of New York never does. And maybe that's what scares them most, that New York doesn't need their approval to shine. So now let's flip it to you. Do you think 50 Cent is right? That Zohran Mamdani's plan will ruin New York? Or is he just another rich guy who lost touch the moment he got rich? Drop your thoughts below, because this debate is nowhere near over. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Trust me, the next story I've got is even crazier, and it's going to shake up the internet all over again. See you in the next one.